With the third game in the Dark Souls franchise on the horizon, I want to jump back into the Souls games of the past. I've covered enemies and bosses throughout the games, but I needed something new to talk about. Then I realized, there's something just as important as the creatures you slay, and that's the areas you explore, the locations you love, and the places you despise. Now I'm pretty sure I could throw any area from any game into this list and it'd be acceptable for someone out there, but these are my personal favorite areas from all the Souls games, including Demon's Souls, Dark Souls, and Dark Souls 2. I know I could probably make a list for each of the games, but I thought I'd make this a little more challenging for myself. I opened the question to Twitter to get some input as well, so there'll be some of your guys' favorite areas in here as well, so don't miss out on that kind of stuff in the future. Go follow me on my Twitter. Or just leave a comment below telling me your favorite Souls area and why you love it, or even if you hate it. I don't care. And whilst this is a top 5 video, I talk about a bunch of different locations and it adds up to like 8. But if you complain there's more content in the video than the title suggests, you're the problem here, not me. I also brought my fellow Souls content creator Sunlightblade on board to share his favorite areas as well, so they'll be in the video somewhere. And lastly, I like to share personal experiences and go into why areas deserve a spot on the list. If you want a quicker, sterile, bland, and corporate top list, go check out Watch Mojo. You read on their description here, they release 4 to 5 videos a day. With output like that, that can only mean quality. Also, where the fuck is Indeimaus in your top 10 Australian YouTubers? You bastards. So I know Demon's Souls hasn't received a lot of love on the channel, but it was the first Souls game I ever played. It was recommended by my pal Drewby. I eventually found a copy and gave it a shot. It completely destroyed me. About a year later, I returned and actually played through, I'd say, 80% of the game. It's what began my interest and intrigue for the Souls franchise. At this point, Dark Souls was already out on consoles, I just never got into it. Sadly, to this day, I have never had the chance to finish Demon's Souls. It's on my bucket list. Alas, number 5 on the list is the hub world of Demon's Souls, the Nexus, a hidden temple in your place of retreat and refuge. A lot of people were happy they got rid of the Archstones, which would allow you to travel to the 5 different worlds, and they replaced it with a more open world, but honestly, both do have their charms. There was something satisfying about being able to tick off all the locations on an Archstone and say, you've completed it. The Nexus, while safe, is an incredibly atmospheric area, and it almost makes you feel uneasy. This is also where you're introduced to the Maiden of Black. Her theme is what you'll be hearing a lot of in your time in the Nexus. This is also where you meet a ton of other characters, vendors, teachers, and just general NPCs. On first glance, the Nexus didn't look quite that big, but after exploring it, there's tons of dark corners and paths leading further up. This is also where I first experienced the online activity that all Souls games have to offer. I've never really seen anything like that in a game before. I approached a bloodstain and used it, and saw some joker taking a running leap off the staircase to his death. Then I noticed the other 29 blood splatters on this singular platform, and realized if you die in Demon's Souls, they're going to show it to the world. Embarrass the poor ghost of your former self. I'd also love to give a shout out to a few other areas in Demon's Souls that still really stand out to me. Boletarian Palace is the first world, and where I spent most of my time for the first time playing. It's a large open area with different secrets scattered around, and there's big fuck-off dragons roaming around that you can eventually slaughter if you were tough enough later on. This is also where the game broke me all those years ago. The Tower Knight was my Achilles heel at the time. Big motherfucker bringing out all these damned archers. Fuck off. Eventually I realized he wasn't that hard. Damn it. It was too late. Another quick shout out from Demon's Souls, since this is the only time I'll be talking about it in the list, is Tower of Latria. Place still freaks me out to this day. The screaming and groaning you can hear coming from the cells, the eerie lady singing that I vividly remember hearing in my nightmares, the Iron Maidens that you can open and actually have a sound cube jump scare. It's all bad news, man. Also the Mind Flayers, they can go straight to hell. Yeah. Blighttown isn't actually on the list. I mean, I guess it's okay when it's not running at 4 frames a second, but I wouldn't know. I take the back entrance whenever I can, if you know what I'm saying. For our fourth spot, I'd like to throw in a few visually breathtaking areas from Dark Souls 1 and 2. Whilst there may not be a ton going on in some of these areas, just the fact they look the way they do got them a spot on the list. Firstly, Dragon's Eyrie from Dark Souls 2. There's a reason they show this place in the gameplay and cinematic trailers, because it's one of the most awe-inspiring looking scenes I've witnessed in a Souls game. The orange glow, the airborne dragons lurking overhead, the keep in the distance. As soon as you walk into this area, you're instantly blown away by its visuals. There's also no boss for the area, unless you decide to attack the ancient dragon. I'm not sure what could convince someone to attack this thing though. God damn. Secondly, emerging from the rocks into Majula, we all had that same feeling of almost safety with the music that plays. It almost reminds me of walking into a safe room in an older Resident Evil game. The music calms down, and even though you know you're fucked, you feel safe for the time being. This is where you meet a vital character in the Emerald Herald, probably one of my personal favorite NPCs in a Souls game. This place was one of the only places you felt safe in Dark Souls 2, until you got chased down by those little pig bastards. And lastly, I'd also like to mention Ash Lake, which lies at the bottom of the Great Hollow, another visually stunning area, but I think Sunlightblade can cover this place in a little more depth.
Alright, thank you to Indeimaus for inviting me on. Now, you've just heard about Ash Lake, which was definitely one of my favourite areas in Dark Souls as well. I think the initial thing for me was the music that starts playing when you first enter the area. That's what made me realise this area was special. Considering that just prior to entering this place you had to jump down the inside of a huge, immense, empty hollow tree, the Great Hollow, and then come out onto this long beach surrounded by sea, it's just so different to everything else that you had seen previously in the game up until that point. There's so few enemies that it feels really peaceful and untouched. And then the main enemy it does have is a Hydra, which for me has one of the most impactful attacks in the game, where it leaps from one side of the beach to the other, fully out the water, sort of flying over the top of you. It just looks incredible. I think overall it was the tone of this area that made it so special for me. It's so hidden from the rest of the world, and feels like a big secret. In terms of Dark Souls 2, there's another area that sticks out in my mind, that area being Hade's Tower of Flame. I don't know about you, but I was really intimidated going there for the first time. Those old knights are huge, and they're just the normal enemies. The area itself is quite atmospheric. You're walking around on ruined architecture that's crumbling into the sea, but you still feel a sense of how magnificent this past civilization must have been. The area is also very reminiscent of Anno Londo, and even has the old Dragon Slayer as the final boss. A boss which has obvious links back to Ornstein from Dark Souls 1. So yeah, I think those two areas were some of the most memorable for me from both games. I guess it's the ones with an overall great atmosphere that makes them stick out.
Undeadburg. The first time I knew a Souls game was something special. Similar to Demon's Souls, the first time playing Dark Souls I only spent about 8 hours in the game before quitting. I just got up to around the Undead Parish, so throughout all my playthroughs of Dark Souls, this is an area I spent a lot of time in. Emerging from the bridge sewer and having the dragon crash into the path was like a holy shit moment. Don't even get me started when he returns later on and scorches the whole bridge. Stumbling into that crazy undead merchant down the set of the hidden stairs and getting the Uchi Katana and the resident key. Of course, then killing his creepy ass. I can't be the only one, right? While there's not a lot of enemy variety here because it is one of the early areas of the game, one of the first challenges newcomers will have to this area are those spearmen or pikemen. These guys hold their ground pretty damn well, and if you try and get behind them, their movement is like a 1-to-1, so you can't really just run around them. Look, for newcomers this is a pain in the ass, and then if you don't kill that crossbow man up on the tower, he's just gonna be nailing your ass with arrows all day. Fuck. This is the first time you realize that there's a lot of helpful shortcuts in the game as well. I completely missed the part where you kick down the ladder for the first time. It was awful, guys. Ugh. And I think this is why playing Dark Souls games blindly by yourself is important. If I had a stream open, sure, they would have helped me out of a bunch of lost and painful hours, but when I discovered this shortcut later on, after a butt ton of deaths by the way, it was like the best moment of my life up to that point. You need those horrible lows to make the highs that much better. Undeadburg also gives you the chance to duel a Black Knight. Fighting him today is just an embarrassment of parries and backstabs, but back in the early days, this guy was absolutely ruthless. I think the two best friends summed this guy up really well in their video. Check this out.
People that are standing in a doorway with their back to you.
Well,
the rule is get the fuck out. Sorry.
Try stabbing him in the back. Okay. Oh my god. Fuck this guy.
Is he behind you?
I don't care. I'm going back to the bonfire.
You should probably look just in case. Yeah, you're fine.
I see him.
Is he actually?
Oh fuck!
Yeah, can't get me, fucker.
Back up. I'm level. What the fuck? Oh!
Oh, he just walks away!
Did you see that? He continued to exist through a bonfire wipe. Unbelievable. I don't know why I asked if you saw it either. What the fuck, are you not watching? I may not be remembering correctly, but Undeadburg is also the only time where a hollow soldier throws a flaming barrel at you and usually catches himself in its physics and he destroys himself. Fucking well done, mate. Shortly after this, you have the honor of fighting the Taurus demon on the thin part of the castle wall. If you take what you learn from the Asylum demon, you'll know plunging damage is your friend. Also, if you got the residence key from that creepy merchant earlier, you have access to the gold pine resin, making this fight even more of a pushover. Something that all these areas in the list have in common is the atmosphere. It's something the Souls franchise does incredibly well, and one of the top reasons people can invest so much time and passion into these games. Now you thought I forgot, but don't you worry, I'll never forget you, Soleil, one of the most popular Dark Souls NPCs in the community, and just in gaming culture in general. This isn't the best NPC list though, so I won't dive too far into that, but praise the sun. After offering the Great Four Souls to the Lord Vessel, one of the most iconic final areas in a Souls game is accessible. This is it. This is what all the fighting, crying, and raging has come to. The large gate opens, revealing a white, misty staircase leading downwards into darkness. You're startled by the ghostly knights walking across, but you soon realize they're harmless, and what the staircase leads you to is the final level of the game. Not often do I stop in a video game to just take it in, but the Kiln of the First Flame is an area where, after walking out from that staircase, it just blew me away. It's beautiful in a terrible, broken way. This is the home to the First Flame and its protector Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, a man who's lost everything and sacrifices himself to keep the flame lit. And if the First Flame is to go out, then the world is engulfed by the abyss. Stakes are pretty high. That's what I'm getting at. The only enemies patrolling this area are the final Black Knights. It's not supposed to be an intense, hard area. It's a crumbling, pathetic, dark area where they'll take their last stand. Corpses litter the pillars that you're going to have to walk across to finally get to the ultimate fog wall. And what you find behind it is Gwyn, Lord of Cinder. And then one of my favorite songs from any Souls game plays. It's not as epic as it is sad, which is perfect for this fight. I heard a lot of people being upset with the end fight because it wasn't challenging enough or even anticlimactic, but that's the point. Gwyn struggles to fight you with his last energy to protect this tiny, dwindling little flame in the middle of the arena. I know Gwyn didn't make it on the top of my boss list at the time, but if I ever was to remake it, I think it would look a little bit different today. The Kiln of the First Flame is easily one of my favorite areas in a Souls game to date. Fellow YouTuber Jordan Underneath did a video about this area as well, so you should definitely go check him out.
No. Fuck. Oh shit. Oh my god. Where the fuck am I supposed to go? Oh, no! Oh! What the fuck? Fuck! No! No! Give me my souls. Give me— No! That has like 21,000 souls! Oh, you son of— Ah! Oh, I'm so happy! I would jump for joy right now, but I'll probably fall. Woo! I did it too!
I know Londo was on the top of the list before I even created the list. When I went to Twitter to hear your guys' opinions, 80% of you had it in yours as well. I know Londo is my favorite area in a Souls game. Period. From when the gargoyles fly you up from Sen's fortress and you see the glowing city, it was something special. It seemed high class compared to what you've been dealing with in Dark Souls thus far. You're not crawling around in the sewers or failing in a swamp or being mauled by dogs in burning towns. No, this place is different. Not only the design, but the exploration of the area seems different. For the first time, it feels like you're invading someone else's home. You're sneaking around through broken windows, and there's stationed giant guards guarding equally giant doors. There seems to be some sort of order here. It's just not all mayhem. That's until you arrive, of course, to fuck everything up. This is also the home of Dragon Slayer Ornstein and Executioner Smo, my favorite bosses from the base game. I won't talk about them though, because they've been covered in a previous video, but if you're not convinced that this is the best area, I got 2 big reasons for you right here. Oh, God. This is also one of those areas after you play it, you like to see other people tackle it on like YouTube or live streams. At the top of this section, I showed the Londo archers. You either nail these guys first try or you get absolutely destroyed by these assholes. I've actually received a tweet that was just saying, "Help me, how do I get past these 2 asshole archers?" And I found that pretty funny. These days I can take them pretty easily unless something strange happens, but the first time, it completely messed me up, with the gargoyles behind you throwing lightning spears directly into your ass if you decided to dash through them. It's just a mess. How could we talk about this place without mentioning the PvP scene? And Londo was one of the biggest places for invasions. I'm not sure how active it is today, but back in the day this was the place to fight other players, and what an arena it was to duel in. Personally, I did a ton of invading back in the day, but I also remember watching other people's invasions, including my pal Northern Lion on his streams. It's actually what caused an influx of subscribers at the time, because I made a trailer about this guy called Crazy Mike, who kept invading Northern Lion and facing off with him.
Yeah, well, you're trying to inspire fear in the hearts of enemies. Death waits for no man! Then it shows that I'm not crazy as Crazy Mike.
So thank you, Londo, for creating such amazing moments like those. I'd also like to talk about the areas connected to Londo as well. The one preceding it is, of course, Sen's Fortress, a giant Saw-themed mousetrap where, for once, speed is actually really helpful. I know a lot of people that aren't a fan of this place, but no, I love it. The other one worth mentioning, of course, is the Painted World as well. After jumping into the painting, you're transported to a completely different themed snowy mountain where you get to meet Priscilla, or murder her if you're that kind of person. Guys, I had to stop this video because Dean Cuddy, the British content creator, released a new video. Please, go check it out. You won't regret it. He's on about 1,500 subs right now. I think we can fucking smash it. Just go check it out. There's an Indeimaus Easter egg. Guy deserves more views than he gets. He deserves more views than me. Click on the screen right now, motherfucker. Go tell him. Go, everyone leave a comment. Blow his mind. It'll be fantastic. Anyway, back to the video. Thank you all so much for watching. I'd love to hear what you think of this new format and presentation style. I'm really proud of how this video turned out. Also, shout out to my boy Sunlightblade for coming on and talking about his favorite Souls areas. Seriously, go subscribe to his channel if you haven't already. Dude makes some amazing Dark Souls and Bloodborne content. I look forward to working with more people in the future with this style of video. Maybe get Vaatividya or even Epicnamebro on board for some future Souls videos if they're up for it. If you have any suggestions on who I should approach, let me know as well. I'll see what I can do depending on the subject matter. And a big shout out to all my Patreon supporters. January, February, look, the early part of this year sucks for ad revenue, so any support you can give me on Patreon really helps with these videos. They take a lot of time and work and just resources to make, so if you can throw $1 my way, it's much appreciated so I can continue doing this kind of stuff for you. Also, thank you to Staple Master for the art he did for the channel. He did my character for this video, so you're going to be seeing a lot more of that kind of stuff. That guy is an art genius. Also, I'll be featuring fan art at the end of all my videos now. If you ever do anything like that, do tweet it at me, and I'll put it right here at the end of a future video alongside your Twitter handle thing. My name is Indeimaus, and I'll see you guys soon with some more videos.